Tom said that. Tom said that.
Well, Tom took it too.
Okay, so let's get going, you guys. So this is Michael, Chef Michael, our fantastic DeWitts, our fantastic colleague. So
Our fantastic DeWitts, I love that.
Our fantastic DeWitts. So the very first year we came here, so the one part of this important culture here is all kinds of wonderful food, right? Expensive food, cheap food, fancy food, simple food. The one thing we don't really do because we don't have that much money is do a fancy dinner. So first year or so we tried that. It was cool and all, but it was very expensive, and it was great. All. But I turned the students loose the first year, and I was walking around the French Court, and I was like, "What is this? Right? Well, this is interesting." No, I guess it wasn't that. I think it was the second year. It was the second year we were walking around. And we're like, this is interesting. We went in, and there's this weird guy in there. He's like, what is this? And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, we're doing this. He goes, why don't you take the students to a cooking class? I'm like, how do we do that? He goes, you got to book it ahead of time. I'm like, well, I guess we do have it next year. And so after that, those first times, we've been coming here every single year. And Michael is always our gracious host and leader here. Obviously, the 2 years of the pandemic, we weren't able to come, so we were not here. And then last year, because it took so long for the campus to approve our travel at the last minute, we didn't know if we were coming, so it wasn't possible to do that ahead planning. So we did not come the last 3 years. That's the biggest gap. But it's fantastic that one, we have this experience. You guys can learn about cooking and all that kind of great stuff. But also we have somebody that really knows the history and can tie it into the food system stuff that we'll be working on. We haven't done any food system stuff yet this year, right? But the garden stuff we'll be doing in the lower 9, the stuff we'll be doing out in Buras. So it's a fantastic partner here in so many ways. So the great.
Food is who we are. I mean, food makes us the only real American culture. What do we mean by America? What are you taught America is? Not food. What the food? What American? Amalgamation. Nobody cared where you came from, where you lived, who you married, who you had kids with. Correct? Isn't that what we teach the world? And did those original 13 colonies actually do that? No. They very quickly established us based on like religion, like nationality, passed laws that forbade us to cross racial or religious lines. That was an illegal act. If you had kids, they were illegitimate, illegal, no value. And we live that way. We're still living that way in many situations, okay? Louisiana never had the law. We never had that law. And we also couldn't get French Catholics to come and live here. So Louis XIV simply makes anyone who lives here a French Catholic. So by the time the Americans get here in the 1800s, we are pretty multicultural. In fact, after slave ownership, free American Louisiana were more free people of color that owned slaves than white people did, because we had more free people of blended culture than we had white people. Okay, a lot of that, I don't understand why we start our history with the Americans, because there was a whole lot before that, and that's more or less where I spend. If I'm teaching a demo class, that's what I'm teaching. I'm teaching that section of history that no one covers. Because everywhere else in the world, everywhere else in the country, you could not cross racial or religious lines legally. Okay, now, whether we were legal or not, that's another story. It's just out of necessity to get a colony going here. We had to do it because there was nobody else here, and nobody had a problem with it until the 1800s. The Americans moved in 1803, and that's when everything kind of downhill for us. And it stays downhill for us until about 1979, when a guy by the name of Paul Prudhomme creates a dish called blackened redfish. And suddenly everything changes for us. Everybody's looking, they're got the food that maybe the people aren't so bad at. So that's what this is all about for me. I'm a certified chef, I love to cook. I would never be in the restaurant business, it's entirely too much work. You have to have fun with it. If you can't have fun with what you're doing, don't do it. If you find yourselves in a job you don't like, you're not having fun, I don't care what your parents said to you, get out of it. First of all, you don't need all of that stuff that they tell you have to have. Come live with me in Costa Rica and out on the beach, you'll be a lot happier. Okay, so that's basically the background of what this is all about. When we first started doing this, we actually were able to walk to a local farmer's market. and buy directly from the farmer, and you could interview the farmers and talk to them about how they produce their product, what's going on, and everything. And now would be a great time because you're going to deal with the weather conditions that are happening right now. So that's going to be an interesting beginning. Well, the market is no longer on Saturday; it's on Sundays, and it's way out. It's not a walk. We used to be able to walk over. Now we can't do that. Okay.
After COVID, right? Was it a COVID thing? Did they move?
I think they just moved because it got tired of trying to find a location in the CBD that would let them have the space free. They kept taking up really great parking lots on Saturdays, which cut down on places for people to park their cars, and then they make a lot of money, and they were tired of giving it away, I think is really what it comes down to. So right now they're out by the brake tag station, which is closed on Saturdays, so you can use that space. It's a city property. And then they're in City Park near Tad Gordon Stadium, another city property. And then Thursdays, that's the break. Tuesdays is out by Tulane University. They have a huge campus where their medical facilities are at the end of Broadway, and it's a huge, that's the biggest of all the markets. And unfortunately they're on days you're not here or we can't get to. Okay. I started to say let's do this on Sunday, but then I don't think the market starts till like 11 or 12 on Sunday. It's a later Sunday on Sunday, so we couldn't do that. So I don't know who went to the market. You probably got the misinformation because I was told certain people were going to drive to that Thursday market.
See, he throws people under the bus.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
The Vince throwing under the bus.
You come in here with bags of vegetables that I could have bought. The idea was to go to the market and see what was available. Well, I did go to the market, not that market. I went to a market that did at least have fresh Louisiana strawberries, so we're going to fresh
strawberries.
Louisiana berries. Okay, so that's what this is all about. It's a chance to get them stories out, and we'll just kind of walk through the quarter, and I'll show you what's going on. First of all, that building right there. There's two of those buildings that are left in this French Quarter area. They're called entresol buildings. You see those little like vents between the windows. There's a kind of demi-floor here used for storage, and the other one's around the corner. It's the Pharmacy Museum, so if you have time.
Yes, that's my favorite museum.
When did they go home?
Not for 2 Sundays, so we have time.
Oh, yeah, so if you can get to the Pharmacy Museum, they'll I think they're still letting you go in and you see that floor space that was allocated for storage and so on. None of the other buildings have it, okay? These entrances here, 525, 531, those curved, those are porte-cochees. What they would basically do is you would come here, your entrance door was off the porte-cochere usually, and you would come and drop your family off, unhook the horses, and the carriages would be put in the porte-cochere, and then the carriages were taken to a central stables location. The original one, which was over on Ursuline Street, was where the French Quarter really started getting its renovation work going on that, and the Beauregard Kai's house. A guy by the name of Clay Shaw really loved the French Quarter. He was a big historic figure here. He was loved by everybody. Now, unfortunately, he was gay, and of course back then it was very quiet. No one talked about it, but everybody loved him. And then we had a Kennedy assassination, and our DA, Jim Garrison, decided that Clay Shaw was at fault because he hated Clay Shaw because of the popularity of Shaw and how much he was able to accomplish in the city when he as DA couldn't even accomplish what he was trying to do as a district attorney. So he personally attacked Clay Shaw from that. But Clay Shaw renovated this building on Ursuline Street. We might try to get over there. That was a central stables and turned it into about 10 apartments at the time. So those stables became apartments, and there's several of those buildings in that area that were central stables. There's 2 in my block where I live, and then they were converted to apartments. Now they're condos, but they were converted for use. You never had your horses at your primary residence because it stunk. There's 1 or 2 places, only one left standing in the French Quarter, and it's straight down St. Louis. You might try to get by there. That's the Herman Grimm House. It's a program that's run through Tulane University and their research programs, and it is a totally intact complex where they have a stable, they have the main house, they also have their kitchen buildings on the back space that are still functional, and 1 or 2 days a week they do cooking classes, demonstration kind of programs in there. And I've tried to coordinate with us and them to do a hands-on class there, but it ends up being very cost prohibitive to do that, because in addition to spending what you spend here, then you got to add a couple $100 per person over there in order to get people to come in and start early and take the wood and turn it to coal, and it just becomes very complicated. But it would be, and again, in that situation, you can't use any modern equipment. So everything is done by hand. Traditionally done. Everything is done traditionally. And it's a lot of fun. We did a program for the Southern Foodways Alliance in there, and we had to do 700 biscuits to 700 people in a wood-burning fireplace that maybe was as wide as this window here. So it was really plus everything else we were cooking had to be cooked. And we had to do butter, and because they didn't have an authentic butter churn, we had to go stand in the courtyard and hand crank our butter in the courtyard, because those kind of pieces of equipment are not allowed in the building. So food becomes real important. Okay, I know you're getting a walk. We're heading, now there's really, you don't use north, south, east, and west directions here. You go toward the river, away from the river. Uptown is actually upriver, which is south of here, and downtown is on the other side of the French Quarter. I know they keep calling those big high-rise buildings downtown, that is